In a 2.5-minute montage, Chicago police pieced together clip after clip showing a group of men armed with rifles, hands, and even a long knife.
Manager held at gunpoint.
The suspect's responsible for holding up a dozen more people.
In Chicago, police are searching for the suspects in a string of armed robberies. Police say the suspect responsible for 9 attacks.
In a city known for welcoming all, the situation in Chicago takes a dramatic turn. Migrants now armed and heavily involved in gang-affiliated activities have taken the city by storm, committing more crimes than ever, including drive-by shootings and running illegal drugs. This bold step challenges the Windy City's promise of shelter. With laws that guarantee shelter for those in need, the city faces a real test, managing this surge without turning its back on its citizens. It's a moment that asks, what happens when the Windy City meets a migrant crime nightmare? Stick around as we delve deeper into Chicago's migrant gang crisis. Migrant gang activity.
2 people, including the teenager, are dead and 7 others hurt.
This comes after 2 mass shootings on Easter Sunday.
4 migrants are now facing criminal charges. They're accused of threatening, even hitting Chicago police officers in the last 2 days.
In an extremely disturbing and quick turn of events, Chicagoans are witness to a series of heists, violent activities, and capers that put their safety at great risk.
A migrant from Venezuela is facing charges accused of attacking and women.
Picture this. Gangs of migrants, fresh off a bus from Texas, are landing in the Windy City with crime on their mind. The migrants are now being scooped up by the local criminal gangs who are on the lookout for new talent to expand their nefarious operations.
A pair of Venezuelan migrants has been charged with stealing almost $3,000 in merchandise from the Oak Brook Mall. Police arrested Luis Mendez Gomez and Frank Montes Davila.
2 days in a row, groups of Venezuelan migrants were charged with burglaries in DuPage County.
The city is under siege by an influx of migrants who are quickly learning the art of stealing, thanks to a network of local thugs and villains showing them the ropes.
Retail thieves strike again. Oak Brook police releasing new videos from a double hit earlier this month.
Imagine migrants who couldn't find Oak Brook on a map if they tried, suddenly hitting the high-end malls there, under the guidance of their new mentors in crime. With 47 migrants arrested in just a few weeks, the city is facing a real challenge, keeping the lives of its citizens safe. According to Chicago's police forces, it's like something out of a gangster movie, with criminal enterprises providing a full-service guide to the best spots for a quick smash and grab, complete with transportation and insider tips on escaping back to the safety of Chicago's sprawling urban jungle, the tent camps, and not least the migrant shelters. And just like in the movies, the migrants are getting caught but then released, only to do it all over again, thanks to a legal system that's seemingly playing catch-up. But wait, there's a twist. Not all of these newcomers are simple thieves. Some are running more sophisticated operations, like a fraudulent ID ring busted by the Cook County Sheriff's Office.
Migrants looking for fast cash to get a job can wind up as pawns in a criminal operation.
Many of them caught stealing in order to pay for fake IDs to gain employment.
This involves migrants being promised fake IDs in exchange for their shoplifting services. And in a further twist, some migrants come with a backstory that includes gang affiliations and ties to international criminal organizations. These are the real big bads, with their criminal network and ties reaching across borders, involved in everything from human trafficking to drug running. Further intensifying the situation, a Venezuelan migrant and alleged cartel member was charged in connection with a drive-by last month in the Little Village neighborhood.
Another in Austin yesterday shut down this area near Ferdinand and Laverne. You can see police tape and evidence markers taking over that intersection. Chicago police say 4 people were standing on the sidewalk when a car pulled up, 2 people stepping out and opening fire.
This challenges the daily hoods of the city's residents, putting their lives at great risk. Citizens are, of course, fuming with anger, blaming the government, Mayor Brandon Johnson, Joe Biden, and of course the criminal migrants. Keep watching as we delve into the widespread anti-migrant protests in Chicago. Migrant protests.
When do citizens of the United States of America come first?
That's the simple solution is no. Turn the buses around.
We have more than a few thousand people who signed a signature here who said no. We said no.
The mood in Chicago is reaching a boiling point for a compelling reason. Residents are voicing their dissatisfaction, directing their ire at Mayor Brandon Johnson and the Biden administration. The root of their frustration lies in the perception that migrants are being prioritized, receiving funding that many argue should be allocated to essential public services for the city's inhabitants.
These South and West Side homeowners are angry.
Protect
They believe the city has overextended itself and should be putting the tens of millions of dollars earmarked for migrants into Chicago's most vulnerable neighborhoods.
But the South Side has been under-resourced, underfunded for years, for decades. We have schools that need to be reopened.
But the concerns don't end there. The issue of safety, a cornerstone for any community, has come into sharp focus. An increasing number of Chicagoans report feeling less secure in their own neighborhoods, a sentiment many attribute to the recent surge in migrants, notably a significant number of men, some of whom are identified as having criminal backgrounds.
Brighton Park neighbors have been protesting this possible migrant tent camp location for hours now, even launching fireworks at one point. Residents we spoke with say they feel betrayed by city leadership and are concerned for their safety.
This situation, they argue, jeopardizes the safety of local citizens. The discussion about tax dollars, how they're being spent, and crucially, how they're not, adds another layer to the public's discontent. There's a palpable sense that the hard-earned money of Chicagoans is being redirected away from its intended destinations, prompting a re-evaluation of priorities and decision-making at the city's highest levels.
Move over, kids. Migrants are taking over your neighborhood football field in Chicago in favor of a new shelter for illegal immigrants, and residents are outraged.
Education, a pillar of any flourishing community, is another focal point of the debate. The use of schools as housing for migrants has ignited a wave of criticism. For many, educational institutions should be dedicated to educating the youth, not doubling as temporary shelters. Even the suburbs are not shielded from the controversy. The prospect of migrants settling in residential areas has sparked a not-in-my-backyard reaction among some Chicagoans, leading to probing questions about whether local politicians would accept such arrangements in their own neighborhoods.
How about this? Give them all these politicians' addresses and put them in their backyards, in their basements, in their houses.
As busloads of migrants continue to arrive in Chicago, the city is left grappling with a pressing question. Why is this happening? And what implications will it have for the future of one of America's most emblematic cities? Keep watching as we delve into the migrant crisis in Chicago. The influx of migrants.
State leaders say they've been told to expect up to 25 buses of migrants each day.
9 more buses carrying people arrived in Chicago today.
Envision this scenario: a convoy of buses, each one brimming with passengers making its way into Chicago. This isn't a plot from a cinematic storyline, but the current reality. The city finds itself at the epicenter of a migrant wave that's seizing the spotlight on the national stage. So, who exactly are these newcomers? The majority are men, a fact that's sparking both curiosity and alarm. Within this group, a notable number have been flagged for criminal backgrounds, adding a layer of complexity to the situation and intensifying the public discourse.
7 buses of migrants will arrive in Chicago today. This follows the at least 7 coach buses full of migrants that arrived in Chicago yesterday. In fact, just a few minutes ago, another coach bus full of migrants pulled up right beside us.
Why has Chicago become the focal point of such attention? Its designation as a sanctuary city acts as a beacon, drawing migrants with assurances of safety and aid. Yet, this policy of open arms faces scrutiny as the influx grows, prompting debates over its effects on local amenities, the security of the community, and the city's general welfare. The architect of the contentious strategy to dispatch these migrants to Chicago, Texas Governor Abbott, claims it's a rebuttal to the national immigration strategy. Regardless of the political backdrop, the tangible consequences are stark. Chicago is confronting an unparalleled predicament that's stretching its resources, endurance, and collective will to the limit.
A breaking news update: more migrants are arriving in Chicago right now.
The strain is palpable among residents, some of whom are contemplating relocation, propelled by the escalating demands on accommodation, essential services, and public safety. This juncture is critical for Chicago, as it wrestles with the dilemmas of maintaining its sanctuary city ethos amidst the throes of vigorous migration discussions.
Migrant buses coming from Texas are now stopping in the suburbs. There's a crackdown, as you know, a new one here in Chicago.
As more buses arrive, Chicago stands at a juncture, pondering its next move. What will be the ramifications for a metropolis that celebrates its diversity and fortitude? Join us as we explore the ongoing migrant surge that's altering the dynamics of Chicago. The housing challenges.
Migrants bussed and dropped off at urban centers, and in Chicago now spilling onto city streets. Right now, 2,300 migrants are living at police departments and airports in that city.
Chicago, a city already teeming with activity and packed to the brim, is now facing a housing dilemma like never before. The culprit? A continuous influx of migrants, each searching for a foothold in the Windy City. However, the reality is stark. There's just not enough space to accommodate everyone. Finding housing for these arrivals is turning into an insurmountable challenge. The price tag is sky high, the logistics are overwhelmingly complex, and the repercussions are visible on the streets for all to see. With the winter cold setting in, a distressing scene becomes ever more frequent. Migrants huddled in flimsy plastic tents, trying to fend off the freezing temperatures. Police stations, unprepared for such a role, have transformed into overcrowded shelters. And then there are the schools, centers of education now doubling as emergency housing. This makeshift solution has ignited a firestorm of debate over what should be prioritized and what the future holds for Chicago's educational landscape. Perhaps the most poignant emblem of this crisis is the proliferation of tents. Dotting the sidewalks and parks, these temporary shelters represent more than just makeshift living quarters. They symbolize a city in distress. For the local population, the tent cities are a constant reminder of growing safety concerns and a diminishing quality of life. Amidst these pressing issues, one major question stands out. How will Chicago address this escalating housing crisis? With every available space occupied and every shelter operating at full capacity, the city is on a quest for solutions amidst dire circumstances. As Chicago wrestles with the implications of this severe housing shortage, it remains under the watchful eye of the nation. Will the windy city manage to navigate through this tumultuous period? Time will unveil the answer, but one thing is clear: a challenging journey lies ahead. The government's response. Amidst the tension that envelops Chicago, attention shifts to those in charge: Mayor Brandon Johnson and the Biden administration. The city, grappling with a significant influx of migrants, has put the spotlight firmly on governmental actions. The variety of opinions on their response is as diverse as Chicago's famed pizza selections. Let's start with Mayor Johnson. Amid escalating pressure, his leadership and strategy have come under intense scrutiny. Critics point to what they perceive as a hesitant, overly accommodating, and perhaps misdirected approach. Conversely, supporters argue that he is striving to navigate an exceedingly difficult situation with a blend of compassion and pragmatism. Then there's the Biden administration. Embroiled in a broader national conversation about immigration policies and their ramifications for cities like Chicago. The administration's approach, a combination of assistance and policies aimed at tackling the root issues, sometimes seems removed from the immediate challenges faced by those on the ground in Chicago. Enter Governor Abbott of Texas, the unexpected player in this unfolding drama. His initiative to direct migrants towards sanctuary cities has effectively stirred the pot, compelling both local and national leadership to directly address the fallout. Within this context, the pivotal question of resolving this crisis grows ever more pressing. Should there be stricter border controls? Increased support measures? The solutions are intricate, with each suggestion igniting further debate and discussion. As Chicago steers through these rough seas, the effectiveness of governmental responses is being closely examined. Will the actions taken by the leaders offer the much-needed respite the city seeks? Or will the hurdles continue to escalate, pushing Chicago to the brink? This narrative is still unfolding, and as the government formulates its strategies, the global community watches eagerly. The path Chicago chooses in response to this crisis and the outcomes of today's decisions will undeniably sculpt the city's future. The stakes are high and the next steps crucial, leaving everyone wondering, can the Windy City weather this storm? Or will the pressure become insurmountable? Time will reveal the outcome, but it's clear that the decisions of the present will define Chicago's trajectory. National impact. As Chicago deals with a significant increase in migrants, the consequences ripple outwards, shining a light on a national issue that resonates from coast to coast. This crisis is leaving its mark not just on the bustling avenues of New York City, but across the entire United States, prompting a reevaluation of policy, humanity, and the foundations of American society itself. New York City shares Chicago's predicament, with its own shelters overflowing, its resources stretched thin, and its public discourse heated. This parallel predicament underscores a collective challenge that has risen to the forefront of national conversation. But what broader implications does this have for the nation? This predicament reveals a tangled array of challenges, ranging from immigration policies and the division of responsibilities between federal and local levels, to the ability of cities to absorb new arrivals. It tests the resilience of America's infrastructure, the steadfastness of its values, and its vision for what comes next. Critics caution that without unified strategies and decisive actions, This situation could significantly undermine urban areas across the country. They point to the potential drain on resources, the strain on public services, and the risk to community harmony as dangers that extend beyond the immediate locales, threatening the overall stability and well-being of the United States. Former President Donald Trump has been outspoken in his criticism, attributing the crisis to what he sees as the failures of current immigration policies and leadership. He advocates for tighter border security and more stringent immigration rules, presenting the issue as a pivotal moment for the nation's safety and identity. As the nation watches and contemplates, several critical questions emerge. How will America address this challenge? What insights can be drawn from the experiences of cities like Chicago and New York? And importantly, how will these actions inform the future of a country defined by its commitment to offering sanctuary and opportunity? Therefore, the current migrant crisis transcends local emergencies, becoming a period of national introspection, a test of determination, and a significant episode in America's ongoing narrative, a narrative that continues to evolve in real time, in communities and streets across the nation. How to fix the crisis? Amidst a scenario that Chicago has never seen before, a pressing and profound query lingers in the air. How do we resolve this? As the city navigates through an extraordinary influx of migrants, finding a solution is as valuable and elusive as a hidden gem. A common proposition reverberates from the streets to the corridors of power: shut down the borders. This direct approach seeks to halt the influx of newcomers, touted by some as an essential move to restore order and pave the way for addressing the crisis without the added strain of continuous arrivals. Yet, questions remain about its sufficiency. Then comes the crucial aspect of financing. In times of crisis, the power of the purse is undeniable. Proposals for reallocating budgets, enhancing housing assistance, and strengthening public amenities are being considered. The aim is to align the city's resources with the magnitude of its predicament, ensuring access to fundamental needs like housing, safety, and stability for both migrants and long-standing residents. Looking to the future, the strategy shifts towards fostering integration and community reinforcement. Initiatives ranging from employment programs to language education aim to turn these challenges into prospects for growth. The aspiration is to facilitate the integration of migrants into active, contributing roles within the community, thereby reducing friction and forging a stronger, more unified society. Governor Abbott's call for tighter immigration policies introduces an additional dimension to the discourse. This issue of national significance is unfolding on the streets of Chicago, underscoring the urgency for a holistic immigration reform that tackles the root causes and ramifications of the migrant influx. As Chicago seeks pathways out of this quandary, the journey ahead is laden with intricacies. Effective resolutions demand collaboration, ingenuity, and a dedication to meeting immediate necessities while laying the groundwork for long-term resilience. This crisis has put the mettle of Chicago to the test. Yet it has also sparked a determination to prevail. This moment transcends merely handling a surge in migration. It's about redefining community in today's world. As Chicago gazes forward, the call to action resonates unequivocally. The moment to act is here. The conclusion. As the day fades into night over a city that has captured the nation's attention, Chicago's experience with an unprecedented influx of migrants marks not an end, but a pivotal moment. The city's streets, its citizens, and the essence of the community itself have endured trials beyond imagination. Yet in the midst of these challenges, a narrative of resilience, discussion, and resolve emerges. Residents from diverse backgrounds have expressed their worries, aspirations, and critiques. They've evaluated policies, held leaders accountable, and explored avenues for resolution. Amid these efforts, it's evident that the journey ahead is neither straightforward nor singular. The core issues, security, resource allocation, and the incorporation of newcomers, are multifaceted, linked to both national directives and global circumstances. However, Chicago's enduring spirit of diversity and tenacity remains evident. This situation has ignited a conversation, prompting reflections on the essence of being a sanctuary city, the equilibrium between empathy and capacity, and aspirations for the city's destiny. The government's actions, community feedback, and prevailing discussions shed light on the hurdles and possibilities that lie ahead. Efforts to find solutions, deliberate strategies, and implement measures are ongoing. The path forward is extensive, demanding a united effort. Looking ahead, one certainty stands out. Chicago's tale transcends the immediate crisis of migrant arrivals. It's a story about the soul of a city, the resilience of its inhabitants, and the continuous pursuit of a community that embodies inclusivity, safety, and well-being for everyone. As Chicago confronts the challenges of transformation, its determination is steadfast. This period in the city's history is far from concluded, but with each forward step, Chicago crafts a fresh narrative, one of optimism, adversity, and a community endeavoring to navigate the complexities of a rapidly evolving global landscape.